anchoring Gaza, it's an absolute honour to second this motion. In a sense, this motion can't be debated. All countries must follow international law and respect that. Israel building settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories is illegal. It is an act of aggression and a form of oppression. Israel must be held to account for their actions, yet the world stays quiet, barely making a peep. We heard basically nothing from the UK government when the announcement after Donald Trump's inauguration for another 6,000 settlers to be put into the West Bank. We heard nothing. My father is from Julis, which was a town in Palestine, which is now part of northern Israel. In 1948, my family fled. They took only what they could carry, and they were told that they could return. They then settled in refugee camps, and then they lived in Libya. In 2005, we returned to the Gaza Strip. Now, Palestine's land has been stolen and continues to be pilfered. When Israel was created, the founder, one of the founders, Ben Gurion, said that the old will die and the young will forget. And unfortunately, that is what is happening today. We should never forget the struggle of the Palestinian people every single day. Israel violates international law every single day and denies Palestinians their human rights, basic human rights, every single day. Now, there is 7.3 million Palestinian refugees across the world, and Israel has taken 80% of the Palestinians' land and annexing 60% of the West Bank now. Within the West Bank, we have 400,000 settlers, so 80% of the land is not enough. They want more. They want to take as much as they can to make sure Palestine doesn't exist. The only way to create a Palestinian state is to stop the settlements, because these settlements are of giant proportion and they eat up Palestinian land. They destroy villages, infrastructures in the West Bank, bulldozing homes down. Farmers, crops ruined, livelihood, heritage, people's dreams crushed. We even see international aid workers lying down in front of the bulldozers, and that doesn't stop Israel. Nothing will stop them. No condemnation at United Nations Security Council will stop Israel from building these settlements. Now, in December 2016, a United Nations resolution was passed condemning the building of settlements on Palestinians' land. Israel's response was to legalise the building of settlements. They legalised theft. It was passed 60 to 52. Now, there was absolute outrage by Israeli politicians, with the leader of the Labour Party describing the legislation as an insane law that threatens to destroy Israeli democracy. On top of that, their very own Attorney General said that he would not defend the law. It is unconstitutional, and it speaks volumes of how Israel doesn't believe and doesn't feel accountable for international law and across the globe. Now, these settlements are normally built on giant hills, and what they do is they assert their power and...
That's time, Nadia.
Oh, okay, well, what I'm going to do... Okay, 2 seconds. I've seen these settlements when I used to travel to Gaza, and they are a form of oppression. They make Palestinians' lives extremely difficult. Electricity cut, water cut. We see them as these... as a definition that Palestinians are second-class citizens. I ask conference to support the motion and to send a loud message that what we want is an urgency to work towards
Nadia,
peace.
you're going to have to wind up.
2 seconds, an urgency to work towards peace.
You have more than 2 seconds, you're going to have to wind up.
And a two-state solution, thank you.
Sammy Stein to move the remit back, to be followed by Ian Campbell to second.
Good afternoon, conference. I'm proposing a remit back for Resolution 4. Before I begin, I have to declare a personal interest in this resolution. I was born a Palestinian. I was born a Jewish Palestinian. As a Jew, I do not support the building of illegal settlements. I do not support the expansion of illegal settlements. I support our party's policy of a two-state solution, and I strongly advocate for peace for both the Israeli and the Palestinian people. But the conference lasting peace needs action from both sides, not one side. We cannot advocate for peace if we support one side and condemn the other. Sadly, this is what Resolution 4 does, which is why I asked conference for a remit back. Resolution 4, as you've just heard, is based on the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2334, which was approved unanimously in December 2016. Resolution 2334 comprises of 13 clauses, but Resolution 4 refers only to the first 5 regarding actions that only Israel must take for peace. But it ignores other actions that Israel and the Palestinians must take to secure a lasting peace. Resolution 4 ignores Clause 6 for 2334, which calls on both sides to take immediate steps to prevent all acts of violence against civilians, including acts of terror and destruction. It ignores Clause 7, which calls for both parties to act on the basis of international law to refrain from actions of incitement and inflammatory rhetoric. There are other clauses in Resolution 2334 that Resolution 4 omits to talk about. A vote for Resolution 4 states that settlements are the only obstacle to peace. This is not the case. There are no settlements in Gaza, legal or illegal ones. Gaza has been under Palestinian administration for over 10 years, and there have been 3 wars in that time between the two sides. Now, I don't object to the content of Resolution 4, but as it stands, it is one-sided and it's incomplete. I ask conference to approve a more complete resolution, one that includes all the important aspects of 2334. Now I would like to address the people who submitted Resolution 4. The way to help the Palestinians is to advocate for a secure and lasting peace. Resolution 4 in its present format does not do that. It does not address that. And so, if you'll excuse me, surely if the content of 2334 is the message for peace from United Nations, it should also be the message for peace for this conference. This conference can do better. This party can do much better. So conference, take your courage in your hands and vote for a remit back.
Ian Campbell, second remit back.
Conference, I would like to encourage you to support this remit back. I stand before you as one who opposes the building of illegal settlements, but this resolution simply doesn't go far enough. If you look at one position, it doesn't make a whole resolution. This resolution says that the two-party state which the SNP supports is under threat in part due to settlement building. What use is a peace treaty in part? Surely we need to listen to both sides. By failing to be balanced and moderate and include the whole of the UN resolution, then we fail Israel and we fail the Palestinian people. If we are truly in support of the rights of the Palestinian people, then we simply must be prepared to speak out against acts of terror. Otherwise, our silence simply condemns the next generation of Palestinian children to believing that violence is the answer to their problems. To have an influence, we need to be both listening and speaking to both parties. By listening to one nation and condemning the other, we simply alienate that one and actually condone the actions of the other. Such an approach is futile if we want to truly be an influence for peace. I believe, conference, that an independent Scotland would be in a unique position to be a broker for peace in the Middle East. Firstly, because Scotland is one of the few countries in Europe that has never had anti-Semitic legislation passed. Secondly, because in this nation there is a real heart and hope for the Palestinian people. I believe an independent Scotland could rise up in international community by brokering a peace deal, Just imagine the Edinburgh or the Glen Eagles peace agreement. To do this, we must take a moderate and balanced approach. Conference, we're facing a referendum, and we need to show the people of Scotland that we are a party that can be trusted to listen to everyone. That we are a party that will seek justice, even those who don't hold our views. Without that, we will fail our nation of Scotland. Likewise, without a balanced and moderate resolution, we fail to bring about a lasting peace in the Middle East. Conference, I urge you to remit back this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, Conference, I apologise, I'm not going to be able to take any more speakers in this debate. Could I ask the movers of the remit back if they wish to use their right to sum up? No, the movers of the remit back first. Okay, you've got 2 minutes.
I haven't actually prepared a remit back summary speech, but I would urge you, all of you, to think about both sides in the conflict. As was said by a previous speaker, the Palestinians are the only people who have been refugees for 60 years. Why are they still refugees? Why do refugees that come to Scotland get assimilated in Scotland and become Scots? Why can't Palestinians, wherever they end up in the world, whether it's Palestine or United States or Europe, why do they have to stay Palestinians? Refugees. Do you know that UNRWA classifies every Palestinian a refugee regardless of where they live? I'm calling for conference to be balanced and fair and actually work for peace for both sides. It's the only way we will have true peace in the Middle East. Thank you.
Tommy, you have your 2 minutes to sum up.
I'm under no illusion at how complicated and complex this debate is, and that there are many different points of view within it, indeed within our own conference in our own party, and I regret that we haven't had longer today to actually explore those nuances and those differences. But the simple matter of fact is this, that sometimes you have to look at something and you have to say it's wrong. Sometimes you have to say... Sometimes you have to say, even to people that you wish to have very good relations with, and we wish to have good relations with the Israeli government, you have to say what you are doing not only doesn't help, it actually prevents the emergence of a viable, sustainable peace in that region. And for as long as the occupation and the settlement building program goes on, there will never be peace in that part of the world. And that is a simple truth. The resolution is put in the context of the United Nations Security Resolution 2334, so it therefore endorses all of that statement that was made by the United Nations and to which the British government is a signatory. So the fact that we haven't repeated it verbatim in the resolution is simply to do with the length of conference resolutions. But make no mistake, no one is saying that ending the settlement program is the only thing that needs to be done to get the peace process back on the road. Not at all. But it is one first very significant step. And that's why we should back this resolution. And if you vote for the remit back, you will be effectively saying, Conference, we do not wish to make a statement on the actions of the Israeli government occupying Palestine and continuing with a process which can only be regarded as political annexation.